Hello, magnificent human beings. Welcome back. You are in the right place, capable and strong. So let's look at some sun salutations. We left off in down dog, so let's get back into our downward facing dog. So if you remember a couple of the 5 million tips I gave just last video on that downward facing dog, try to come into it, as best as you can. So here in your down dog, we'll typically take this left leg, bring it on through in between your hands, and then raise on up into crescent lunge. So as we move through our sun salutations, you're going to notice it's a lot of up and down and lift and back and everything. So it's more of a flowy process, if you will. So here in your first crescent lunge, this is fine, or a modified crescent lunge works as well. So this knee over that ankle, and then untuck your toes behind you. You do want to keep your hips square with the front of the mat. So modifying in your crescent lunge in your practice, totally okay anytime, whenever you feel you need to. Otherwise, we're up on the back ball of that foot. Try not to ground down that heel. That's actually more of a warrior one position, but we'll get there. So crescent lunge, hips square with the front. Left knee on top of that ankle, high on the back ball of that foot, and you're lengthening through your torso, but you actually are able to relax your arms down just a little bit. Three breaths, as always. Bring those hands down to frame your foot. This right foot, your back foot, you step it up into a forward fold, and you just hang, relax. But no, really though, just actually hang, relax. Relax your head, your neck, your shoulders, everything. Again, just like we did in our seated forward bend, this is our, forward fold here standing. So if you want to put a bend in your knees, that's fine. If you want to interlace your arms, that's cool too. And eventually your legs will come straight. That back will start to straighten out as well, but that takes time. So just relax, just hang. Next in our sun salutations, you'll typically see a half lift. So you inhale into half lift. Fingertips can be back here. They can be on your shins, wherever you like. And you exhale, bring it back down into forward fold. Very good. So you step that left foot back for a brief lunge and right foot back, downward facing dog. So down dog, as you're getting comfortable, pedaling it out, whatever you like. So in our sun salutations, doing the next side, right foot comes through in between those hands. Again, if you want to modify, that is totally cool. Otherwise, coming on up, crescent lunge. Again, hips square with the front. This knee stacked on top of your ankle, high on the back ball of that foot. And you want to try to keep this leg as straight as you can. Not so much that you're causing yourself discomfort, but as straight as you can. Grounding through those feet, but lifting through that torso, shoulders relaxed down. Bring your hands on down to the mat. Left foot steps up into forward fold, and just relax. Then you inhale into half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Awesome job. And then taking your right foot back for brief lunge, and then opposite foot back, downward facing dog. Very good. Shift forward into a plank, and actually come onto your knees for just a second. Sit back. So you'll see lots of yoga classes where people come into plank and they do something called a Chaturanga, and then they push it back up into plank and then go through upward facing dog. It's just a series of postures, and lots of teachers will say, go ahead and take your Vinyasa or your flow. And that typically looks something like this. So plank, Chaturanga, back into plank, you lower all the way down, untuck your toes, raise on up into up dog, and then coming into your downward facing dog once more. And there are a lot of little important things happening through that whole process. Chaturanga can actually be kind of a dangerous pose if you don't set your shoulders back right and shift your weight how you should. So for now, I want to give you some options so you can either build some strength or just, do what your body feels is best. So plank pose, you truly are in a plank. I mean, you are high on those toes, and then this tailbone is tucked just a little bit. You actually kind of roll your shoulders just a little bit here. Fingertips spread wide, and your core is engaged. So again, there's a lot going on. But what I like to do a lot of the time is simply modify. So if I'm in plank, then I'll just lower to my knees and bring my heels to my glutes. And if you notice, I'm not sagging too much in my plank, or I'm not back so I'm poking my butt out. You just kind of have relatively straight line from your knees through your glutes up to your shoulders. And then just lower yourself all the way down to the mat. But to use that strength I was talking about, you want to keep your arms glued in at your side body. So looking at it from this angle, my arms don't come out. They truly are in at my side body, and I lower myself down to the mat by bringing my weight forward. Feet come down, and then you can raise on up into your up dog. Bring it on back, downward facing dog. So again, there's a lot of things going on. So I'm just gonna give you a couple of options. Okay, so that first option, which we just did, was modified plank. And then instead of doing a chaturanga, just lower yourself down to the mat, raise on up, and then downward facing dog. Awesome. The next one is to be in a plank and then lower yourself down to the mat. But this takes a lot of tricep strength because you have to push that weight forward as you do so. Untuck those toes. And then, again, upward facing dog. You raise on up. Engage your glutes so you protect your low back and you can lift those knees off a little bit. And then from here, downward facing dog. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, this is so complicated, I'll never get this and everything, trust me, you do 2 or 3 classes and then you're like, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom. And it'll all come together, I promise. Okay, so the last option, and this is for people who probably have a little bit more kind of strength, body awareness and everything, because there's lots of little things that are going on in a sort of true Chaturanga or Vinyasa flow. So you're in your plank. In Chaturanga, we keep our elbows glued in at our side body and lower halfway down, push back up. So in your Chaturanga, you really have 90-degree angles in your arms because you push that weight forward. So there's a big difference between just doing this and doing this. So, Chaturanga, you lower, push back up, and then lower yourself down, roll those shoulders back, raise on up into up dog, downward facing dog. So there's your options. So that is your typical sun salutation flow. Some teachers will have you start in your sun salutations from down dog and say, bring this foot up, bring your arms up. Okay, great. Bring them down, up here, and then yay, half lift, and come back down, and then come back down into down dog. So that's the one that I just demonstrated. And another way is to do it from forward fold. So you could be here in your forward fold, bring that leg back, bring your arms on up, crescent lunge, bring them down, step it up, half lift, forward fold, and then you do the opposite side. So right foot comes back, raise on up, crescent lunge, and then hands come down, foot steps up, half lift, there you go, hands on the mat, then you come into plank, and then you do your whole Vinyasa Chaturanga flow. So that is sun salutations. You just did probably the most complex part of the whole class. Everything else is not as complicated, I promise. So if you're holding on through this, then the next section, and the next one, and the next one, you're gonna get down, no problem. So let's just keep moving. Go ahead and head on to the next video, and I'll see you when you get there. Thanks.